Hi, I'm Pamela Fan, co-owner and principal of Impact Energy. Impact Energy is a Black woman-owned energy services company that specializes in project installation work such as EV charging infrastructure, heat pump installs, energy audits, workforce development, and civic engagement. I'm here to talk to you today about a project that we've been working on called the EV Motorist GreenBook. The EV Motorist GreenBook was an adaptation from the Negro Motorist GreenBook, which was a book that was utilized in many states by Black travelers back in the early 1900s, giving them a roadmap to travel safely through states and be able to stop at Black-owned restaurants, Black hotels where they could stay safely, avoid sundown towns where once the sun sets, their lives will be a danger, and just gave them that sense of supporting community, supporting Black-owned businesses, but knowing where they were welcome when they traveled. Impact Energy came up with the idea of the EV Motorist GreenBook because we wanted to amplify and progress electric vehicle adoption in minority communities. Some of the deterrence that we hear from communities about electric vehicles is, how far is it going to get me? Or is my car going to stop? Or will I be stuck somewhere? So we call that range anxiety. So we thought we came up with this idea of the EV Motors GreenBook to, one, assist with the range anxiety problem, giving Black travelers and minority travelers a guide of where they can stop and charge up their cars, stop at a Black-owned restaurant, stop at a Black-owned store, shop, art center, and HBCU, possibly even a historic site, and charge their car while they're getting services or getting food or seeing sights. Charging an electric vehicle typically takes somewhere from 30 to 40 minutes, depending on how fast the charger is and how much you charge up. So identifying these locations for drivers is one thing. The second part of wanting to spur EV adoption in minority communities is because the greenhouse gas emissions. So we know that there's a lot of carbon offset from cars, from fuel cars that are out there, cars, buses, fleet transportation like your Amazon trucks, your UPS trucks, things of that nature, your semi trucks. And we also know that minority communities, or what we call disadvantaged communities, are typically located in the hub of the places where all this carbon emissions is going. Adoption of electric vehicles will help clean the air, will help with those carbon offsets, because those communities also suffer some of the worst health impacts than other communities. A lot of breathing issues with asthma, or COPD, or other breathing issues. And a lot of that can be caused because we're inhaling these fumes day to day. A cleaner transportation is needed to help offset some of these emissions that are happening. And that will help within these communities as well. So it's kind of twofold, giving you the guide of how to charge safely and knowing that you can adopt and get an electric car and be able to utilize it to go travel, visit family, take your family on trips, and feel like you're charging in a safe place, welcoming place, and that you have something to do while you're there. So those were the main reasons that we had the idea about doing this. So we won a Google grant to actually do this work. It was administered by the Windward Fund. And then HBCU Green Fund, thankfully, was our fiscal sponsor to help us with this grant. We set out to do our road trip for the EV Motors GreenBook. I guess it's about three to 4 weeks ago now. So we left Washington, D.C. and traveled all the way to Miami in an electric car. Some of the lessons learned is that, some cars are better than others when it comes to identifying charging. Tesla charging stations were literally everywhere. We really need to understand where we can place charging infrastructure for cars that are not widely on the market right now, because those are honestly going to be some of the more affordable options for people in minority communities. And there are a lot of options coming. So education is another piece of that. Many people think that um, the only type of EVs out there are the super expensive ones. But there are electric vehicles of all types that are either coming to the market, and some, like the Bolt, there are several out there, several options that you have that are really reasonable. Not to only mention that, there are several used car options, and looking at your state tax incentives that are out there, you could potentially get a used car anywhere from $7,000 and up, an electric vehicle. You have the Nissan Leaf is another one, but there are just several options out there that are affordable. They're not just the Teslas. So affordable option, clean fuel, protecting our air, and the fact that you are able to travel in this car and you're able to charge up when you need to. That's very important. So being able to give a roadmap to minority communities to help them think about electric vehicles and what that could look like for their families is very important. It's happening in other communities. We have to think about the adoption of these technologies in our communities as well. And we have to be able to be knowledgeable enough to know what's coming down the pipeline. They're working on this across the board for many states and many communities. The bipartisan infrastructure law has made it possible that billions of dollars are going to be trickling into the energy sector, and a lot of it is to implement cleaner transportation. So, we've got to ensure that our communities are included in that work and in that infrastructure work as well, and that we are not left behind in this innovation. So, Impact Energy, we're doing our part by doing this and by mapping this out. We also, in addition to the Google grant, won an additional grant in Massachusetts to do the exact same thing. We just finished up that ride and drive and roadmap trip a couple of days ago. So, that report will be coming out soon. And our hopes is that we're able to take the information that we gather from here. We're building out a report about it, and we're putting it into website and application form to be able to inform our drivers of where you can go charge and eat and see sites and do all these things. But another important piece of that is that we created the Impact Energy Fund, a 501c3 nonprofit that we can fundraise, and we can look for additional dollars to implement not only the charging infrastructure, but look at options for charging for these communities. So whether that's EV car sharing programs, is it shuttle services, electric shuttle services, especially for the elderly? Is it to help with adoption of electric buses and school buses? Is it for potentially electric bikes? If there's not enough electric bikes in communities so people can commute better, and placing bike lanes there. So we're trying to think through some of those problematic areas of, I can't afford a car. I can't afford an electric car right now. So we're looking at other options and how to be able to build the infrastructure and bring the people along with us. So there's more to come on that. We'll need strategic partnerships for that. We're looking at partnering with our local utilities, as well as other nonprofits and other businesses and industry to get this work done. Because again, the premise behind all that is to ensure that we're seeing this infrastructure happen within minority communities as well. So that's a lot of the work. I think some of the best learnings that I got from this road trip was really just talking to communities and understanding what they would like to see. many of them would love to see the adoption of electric transportation, and they know more than what we think that they do. However, there are other issues and more pressing issues sometimes within these communities, like sidewalks. How can we go into communities and talk about electric transportation, and they don't have sufficient sidewalks even to get to public transportation? So these are issues that we'll work on with local municipalities and other agencies and talk through, because that shouldn't be the deterrent. Let's get that fixed as well. Let's figure out how to get that fixed in addition to ensuring that we're placing charging infrastructure in these communities and giving these opportunities for clean air, clean transportation. So, those were some of the learnings I got, but the communities that we saw and that we visited and that we spoke to were just absolutely amazing. Learned a lot about our history traveling through, understand that there's still some sundown towns that are out there, and ensuring that where we're thinking about placing infrastructure is not only equitable, but it's safe. Safety is a major factor in this, especially for travelers. So ensuring that we're recommending safe places for people to charge as well. So we're looking forward to doing more of this work. Our hopes is to be able to take this and go across the US and do more of this type of work with the EV Motorist GreenBook and add more locations, more states. And so, we're just looking forward to advancing our communities and seeing our communities come along in this transformative time in energy. So if you have any questions about the EV Motorist GreenBook or Impact Energy, you can look at www.impactenergy.energy. You can contact me, Pamela.fan@impactenergy.energy, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have or talk about potential future partnerships. So thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to come and let us come and talk about this project. Thank you, and thank you HBCU Green Fund.